Vroom, vroom. Right, this is the Les Leston steering wheel, original from the day, that was fitted to the Sebring. And obviously we're going to put it back on the Sebring, but we're then going to need a steering wheel for this car. So we've had a fantastic bit of luck, because the Les Leston family, his grandson and his son, have started to reproduce Grandad's steering wheel. So we take that off, put it back on the Sprite, and then we put the replica one, which isn't a replica really, it's what they call a continuation. And if Bentley can do continuation Bentleys and Jaguar can do continuation Jaguars, then I think Les Leston family can do continuation steering wheels.
Oh, I thought that was pretty good.
That was very good. Thank you very much.
Right, so this, as you all know, is the Sebring Sprite, and it had a Les Leston steering wheel that got put on the Mini, that's going to come off the Mini and come back on here. So if you come round here, Susie, you can see, luckily, original seats, all the original dash with the original Philips radio.
Oh, wow.
And that would have been how the man had it in 1959. So obviously we've got to do something about the steering wheel for the Mini.
Yeah, and that's like the mods Mini.
And that was modified, that never was anything really, it's just an old Mini that we've tuned up and put all the period bits on, and obviously we're stuck for a period bit. But as it happens, Les Leston's grandson and his son are reproducing the steering wheels, and here it is. And here it is.
Here we go.
Now that's like my signature that Timothy has on all his stuff, and I had to practice it about 200 times, and I'm not a particularly good writer, so I wrote it. So now, 30 or 40 years later, it's been on the side of an Arctic, it's been on the headed paper, it's been everywhere.
It's a lot of scrap bits of paper to get to there.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Right, so tell us the story.
So yes, it's been a real labour of love, reproducing these steering wheels. My dad and my brother make these ourselves in Kent, in Les's old home. And yeah, we've got one here for you today. This is packaging design that we designed ourselves.
Yeah, I think it's nice that, because if you're getting something like this, you know, you want a bit of heritage, and it's all there, isn't it? And I love that.
Yes, you've got the old, so these Daddio, his most famous racing car,
yeah, because
the Lotus Elite,
yeah,
in the same colour, so that's this one.
Yeah.
This one that's here, the Lotus Elite, which is his famous car.
And his Riley 1.5, which Alan Foster, who used to race against in his MG Magnet, and he used to tell me how he used to race with Les. And I love that. I don't know how I'm going to be able to drive my car continuously, because I'm going to have to leave them on, aren't I? Well, it looks a bloody good job.
Thank you.
Cool.
So this is, and it's on the blurb here, this is the Monte Carlo steering wheel. So it's the same profile as the one that you actually have in the Mini currently.
Well, that's even better, isn't it?
Yeah. So basically, this was the Alpine. It used to be called the Alpine when it was launched. But Paddy, who we got a photo here, Paddy Hopkirk won the 1964 Monte Carlo Rally in the Mini. Yeah. This famous Mini with there you go, the Les Leston steering wheel in the car.
Well,
so
it looks like
that's what we.
Dead right. So how did you get that grain all the way around like that?
Well, trade secrets.
Yeah.
No, it's they're all made from laminate. That's laminate.
Really
so,
good.
yeah.
And that's nice.
Thank you.
Oh, and that's good too. Well, I think if we're going to have a replica steering wheel in our tweaked up Mini, what better could you have than the proper continuation Les Leston steering wheel from his grandson with all the history.
So they all have a serial number. This one is stamped on the back here, 779, so it's individual to you.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah, so these are all hand stamped.
Oh, the Bugatti Owners Club would love that. They have to have a number, you know.
Yeah, you were saying about the numbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
We like a number.
Yeah. Oh, that is
And if
nice.
this is the Monte Carlo one, how many other versions are you making, or is it just this one?
At this stage, it's just this, but there's also the Grand Prix, which is a famous one, which will be coming out soon. This will be in
And what would
leather.
that have been fitted to?
Oh, anything and everything.
Oh, right.
There's-
you haven't got a lovely-
I've seen photos of George Best with one in his Mini and
Oh.
all sorts. Yeah,
Oh, well,
all
you've got to
sorts.
include that in your
Yeah,
advertising.
absolutely,
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, no, it'd be
Yeah.
a pleasure to see it on.
Oh, I tell
On
you
your
what,
car.
I'm absolutely knocked out with that.
Thank
It
you.
really, really is. And it really is a good job. I think Grandad would be quite proud of it.
I hope so.
I'm filling up.
Yeah, I'm sure he's watching from somewhere down there, probably, where the tyres get really warm.
Yeah, he's probably
Yeah.
saying, hey, am I going to get a cut out of this?
Because of course you race against him, which
Yes.
is so cool.
Yeah,
Yes.
I remember I was racing at, it was a funny track, you never go there very often, and Les was there in the Camaro, and John Lyon was beating me, and I was right up behind him, and it was the last lap, and Les came by in the Camaro, and I thought I ought to drop him behind him, and don't care about Lyon.
Yeah.
You know, if he's in the way, I'll just have to move over. But I didn't do it. So obviously, when you get old, you often think about these things, and that's one of the things I've often thought about, because I think that was the only time that year that he actually beat me. And they might have beat me before because they had the very famous Michelin tyre that was supposed to be a road tyre, and it wasn't really.
Right.
And I had Clavers, which were road tyres, and he had these Michelins, which he got from Chrysler. Because Chrysler were tying with me on points of the overall championship.
Oh, I see.
And they were helping John Lyon in his Ford to try and take points away from me. But it didn't do him any good. It was one of the last races of the year. Poor old Bernard did a piston on the Hunter GLS and lost all the points because he didn't finish. Whereas I was only losing, you know, and I won the championship. But that was 1973.
Yeah, that would make
The
sense.
miners was on strike. It was the worst time in the history of the world to try and go motor racing.
Yeah.
I didn't think in 1974 we'd go motor racing, but as it happened I did, but I couldn't get a sponsor. And as I didn't have any money, it was very important.
Yeah.
But anyway, I spoke to somebody that year, they said we spent the budget, we'll tell it to you next year, and good to their word, they came through, and I went racing. That was 74, and then 75 I went back again with a proper sponsor and some money, and I won the Radio 1 championship.
So how many championships did you win in the end?
I won the Britax the first year, the second year I won the Britax and the Castrol, or whatever the two championships were, outright. And then 74 I did touring cars and didn't have any money, got nowhere. And then 75 I won the Radio 1. So that's, what's that? That's 1, 2, 3,
isn't it?
4.
Yeah, yeah.
I raced to 1976, but in 76 I said, you've got to have a BMW. And Century said, oh no, we can't have a foreign car, you've got to have a Capri. And I led the points right up to near the end, but by then they'd started to sort the BMWs and the Opels out, and I couldn't beat them. I can remember going down the straight at Silverstone, coming up to Woodcote, right beside Tony Franklin.
Yeah.
And he's sitting in the Opel Commodore, and he looked like he was on a Sunday afternoon drive. You know? He put his foot on the all four-wheel disc brakes, limited slip axle standard,
Yeah.
and I was in a Capri and it was tramping and it was going all over the shop trying to stop, you know. And that was it. I couldn't win. I couldn't beat him. And
But you did beat him in a championship. I've seen the results.
Oh, yeah, well-
Because I mean he's a legend.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like you were mixing it with.
right. Well, in
guys.
1973, he drove the Skoda, and that just won all the time. And the year before, he won both championships outright, and he would have won both championships outright in 73, but I won all the time as well. So I beat him. And I won both championships outright, and they never even had a dinner because it was so bad. You know, petrol was, they didn't actually put it on. They didn't put it on rationing, but we were all issued with tickets.
Staggering,
It
isn't
was
it?
that bad. And so
Everyone
they
always
did-
goes on about a simpler time.
Yeah,
Wow.
and up in London they normally had it at the Dorchester, and I would have been given the prize, and they never had the dinner.
What?
So I didn't get the prize. I mean, I got a cup about that big, I think, and that's it, like, you know.
So I'm always interested in people who like met my granddad sort of
Yeah.
way back then, because I remember. So Huey, my great friend Huey Walker,
Yeah,
we were at the pond,
yeah.
and he said, you know, that guy over there used to race against your granddad. So I had to go over and say hello.
Yeah.
And I remember you said that when you met him, you thought he was just like you.
Yeah.
You said a ducker and a diver.
Yes, that's what he was. Wasn't
Yes,
he?
he
There's no
definitely-
doubt about it. Les Leston had to earn his own money, I think.
Yes.
I don't think he inherited a great fortune from anybody.
No.
But he was there, wasn't he? And he was in the great days of production saloon car racing. Because when I first started, I called in London Sports Car Centre, and my old governor, Alan Foster, raced against your dad in the MG. And he said to me, well, I wouldn't be going racing again. I said, oh yeah, what's that? He said, well, he said they're going to introduce production saloon car racing, and I'm going to do it in an MG 1300. You remember the one with a, what do you call it, hydroelastic suspension?
Yeah. Okay.
So I thought, oh, that sounds good, I'd like to do that. Anyway, I bought a 1275 Mini Cooper S off him for 300 quid. A lovely car, put a roll cage in it, and went to the first race and realised my car was completely the wrong one, because I'd have had to beat Private Jeanette in the Hillwood Avenger. Stood no chance. But obviously, what my governor was driving, the 1300, I could paralyse it in a Mini Cooper S.
Yeah.
And obviously Dick Jacobs, who used to run the works, midgets and everything, lovely old boy, Mill Garage, he was obviously looking after, and the 1100 was sort of works prepared really, but he couldn't beat the Ford Escort Sports. So when, by sheer good fortune, I managed to find a really good sponsor, which was Lyons Groceries, when they were introducing quick brew tea, I knew exactly the car to buy. I went and bought an Escort Sport, and then because, you know, Foster stood no chance, and as it happened, they all stood no chance, and it was very successful.
Yeah.
And that was the start of going road racing, really.
And what I love, obviously, is the fact you were there just amongst all these characters and stuff. Like, so if you talk about Les Leston, Tony Van Frankie, Gerry Marshall, like big boozers, you know.
Oh.
What was your? Were you?
Well, I can't booze, I'm useless.
No.
The only time I did a bit of a booze, I crashed the car the next day. I did actually crash it, but anyway. But one of the things was, I can remember a really good story, was when we raced at Mallory Park, we used to go and stay at the Holiday Inn. And it was, you know, it was quite posh for me, you know, and lovely staying at the Holiday Inn. So we're in the Holiday Inn, old Gerry's down in the pipes like he always did. And he said to me, this is like late now. I mean, you're supposed to go to bed early, but obviously this is late. This is, I don't know, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. He said, can you swim? I said, yes, I can. He said, well, I said, I think we ought to have a race. So I said, yeah, that's a good idea. So in we go, in the Holiday Inn, no one in there, because obviously it's in the morning, there was no one in the pool, it was dead. So off comes the clothes, down to the underpants, stand next to Gerry, go! So I dive in the pool, pull the underpants up, because they obviously were drooped down, swam to the end of the pool. When I get to the end of the pool, Gerry Marshall was standing there. I said to him, what's going on? He said, I never said anything about swimming. He just walked down the outside. I was so busy swimming, I didn't notice him walking down the outside.
It's hilarious.
And that's the sort of thing that happened. And then, very often, we used to finish up in the bar at Mallory Park, and there would be Lam Frankie, Gerry, Bernard Jeanette, other people's names I can't remember, but obviously the most famous rally driver in the world.
70. What are we talking? 75. What are we talking about now?
Oh, he's the most famous man. I can't think of his name.
Rally driver.
That's it. Getting old, you see. That's what it is.
What have we got? Rally driver.
What?
English.
Yeah, English. Roger Clark.
Oh, Roger Clark, of course.
Right. So we're in
dear.
the bar at Mallory Park, right, and we've all had a few drinks. And old Gerry Marshall said, "Oh, Ivan," he said, "this is Roger Clark." So I took it and said, "Hello, Roger," you know, and that was it. So we finish up in the toilet having a pee, and Gerry Marshall says to me, "You don't know who Roger Clark is, do you?" I said, "Well, I don't, but he knows who I am, doesn't he?" So he said to me, "He's only the most famous rally driver in the world, and you don't know who he is." I said, "Well, I don't read all the books." I didn't say to him, "Well, I don't read very well, so I don't read all the books," you know. And it was so funny, because the next week, Gerry used to write a column in Car and Car Conversions, and it said, "And we was at Mallory Park, and I introduced Ivan Dutton to Roger Clark, and he didn't know who he was." So from then on, every time I saw Roger Clark, he always used to make a fuss of me and say hello and everything, you know. It's really funny.
Brilliant.
Yeah, but that was the sort of thing that happened all the time. It was, and because I had the quick move girls with me, I had 4 lovely girls with me, and one of them was Miss Great Britain at the time.
Blimey.
So they were, I'll never forget, I'm in the bar at Brands Hatch, and I never raced, you know, I mean, I raced the Mini 3 times, and then suddenly I had a brand new car, and I was winning. So nobody knew who I was, because, you know, that was the bloke who had a Mini, didn't do anything, really. So I'm standing at the bar, and I've got the quick move girls with me, and they've got the sash on, and they're giving away quick move tea to all the ladies, so that made me popular as well. So anyway, so Tony Lamfranchi comes over and he said, "Can I join your company, Ivan?" I said, "Yeah, certainly, Tony." Get Tony a drink. So the lady who was in charge got him a drink, and because we were stood there drinking, and that was it. Anyway, years later, when I got to know Tony, he said, "You know when we was at Brands Hatch years in the I said, "Yeah, yeah." He said, "We were convinced you've got to be the illegitimate son of Mr. Lyons to, you know, land this fabulous sponsor." Still got a cross on the back of the car, didn't even have a proper licence. And I've got this lovely sponsor, you know, in a brand new car, winning, and the quick move girls, just out of the blue. Well, you had to be the illegitimate son of Mr. Lyons, didn't you, really? But what he didn't know is I'm very lucky, and I was very lucky.
How did you pull that off?
Well, it's quite a good story, really. My brother-in-law had a car hire business called Greenford Car Hire Service, which he was a prisoner of war for 5 years. When he came back from the war, I don't think he fancied getting an ordinary job, and he started Greenford Car Hire Service, and he'd run it ever since the war. Well, it got to the 70s, and he was obviously getting old, and he fed up with it. He wanted to go. My nephew, his son, used to drive as well. So John comes to me and says, "Look, the old man, blah, 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 blah." Anyway, we bought the business of him. John went and got a little half office next to our hairdressers, and we opened Greenford Car Hire Service. And we had a contract with Lyons Groceries. And I bought a limousine, and I found a number, TA8. And then, so the next thing that happens is we're doing this work for Lyons, and we had to take the national sales manager of Lyons Groceries up to London for a meeting. Unbeknownst to us, though, obviously this was all to do with launching Quick Brew Tea, with Roy Hudd on the adverts on the telly, and quite a budget, probably. So, obviously, now we've got the limousine. Mac Tearsley says to John, "Oh, we've gone up in the world, John. Yeah, well, my uncle's bought the business and blah, 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 you know." And then he said to Mr. Kearsley, he said, "You ought to sponsor him, you know," he said, "because he'll be too big soon and you won't be able to afford him." So anyway, so what does he do? Well, he races saloon cars. Oh, all right. So anyway, I went to the meeting, came out, got back to Greenford, and over the road is a railway. So he says to my nephew, "Do you fancy a drink, John?" "Yeah, oh, yes, Mr. Kearsley." So off comes the chauffeur's hat, and in the railway they go. He said, "I want to talk to you about this racing," he said, "because I think it could be a nice little sideline to launching Quick Brew Tea." So he said, "What sort of cars?" He said, "Well, just ordinary cars." He said, "What, you mean like a Reps car?" "Yeah, Ford Escort, like a Reps car." "Yeah. Could you put Quick Brew Tea on it, Super Brew and all that?" "You could do what you like, I think, you know." He said, "Oh, right. What about having promotion girls?" "Well, I'm sure it'd be all right, you know, you can do what you like, really." So my nephew pretends he's going to the loo, goes outside, gets on the telephone, because there was no mobile phone, rings me up and says, "Get down the railway, I think I found the sponsor." So anyway, I had a quick wash and dress up, and walked in, and saloons like doors like a cowboys have, you know, that go like that. I went through the doors like that, and my nephew said, "Oh, Mr. Kears, he's only my Uncle Ivan." So anyway, so that was the start of it. So we start talking about it, and he says, "Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, you can have it all over it, red, you can have, you know, anything." And he said, "Well, I like the sound of this, Ivan, I think we're going to go for it." Literally, then, in the bar. "Barman, champagne." So a magnum of champagne comes, we drank that. I'm flying, you know. Anyway, the next day I rang him up and I said, "Hello, Mac." He said, "You got that car yet?" I said, "That's all I wanted to hear, because I thought I'd dreamt it, you know." So I went off to Perry's in Edgware, next to the London Sports Car Centre. On the way there, I bought a packet of quick brew tea for the red. And I walked into the showroom and I said to Bart, "I want a Ford Escort Sport 1300, about that colour." And he looked and he went, "Yeah, sunset red." I said, "That's it then." So I said, "I want one of them. When can I have it?" This was holiday weekend. So they'd already done a few races and I'd done 3 of them and come nowhere. So he said, "Right," and he said, "Well, it's in Aylesbury, so it's got to be picked up from Aylesbury, it's got to be de-waxed, it's got to be pre-delivery checked, it's got to be registered." I said, "I don't want any of that. I'll pick it up from Aylesbury, I don't want it registered, it's going to be a racing car." So Tuesday morning, I went to Aylesbury with the trade plates, picked the car up, drove it flat out back, took the engine out and took it to Jan Speed, because Jan Speed were winning all the races with Gerry Walton. It never occurred to me that I wouldn't win. And I just thought, well, I'll get the engine done by them, so when I paralyse them, they can't say it's the engine because I'd have done it. And that was it. It just was like having a dream. And I got the car done, and I had a few bits of aggro. I didn't win the first race, but I had to win 18 races to win the class, having missed a few. And I won 18 races and won the class.
Yeah, a ducker and a diver indeed.
And that's exactly what it was. It was, I mean, if Les was there, he'd probably be going, "Oh yeah, well, when I bought the first car, I didn't have any money, you know." I put it on the book and all that, you know.
I love it.
Well, I think that's a fantastic bit of storytelling.
It's good. I'll put all the history down, that car, all the bills and everything in here. So if I ever do see
great.
it,
Yeah, that'd be
it
great.
can all go with it, can't it, you know?
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's really good. I'm knocked out with that.
Yeah, well, so this Boss actually, so that will fit a motor litre.
Yeah.
Boss, that one,
Well,
and we can do any different type.
Yeah.
If you want to do a Les Leston or a Momo, Nardi, whatever you like.
I've absolutely got a box of, what do they call it, centres.
Yes.
That my mate Brian Wright gave me. Another character.
Well, I
Right.
think we've done enough talking for the day.
Yes.
My arms are about to fall off.
now.
Okay, thank you very much, Ollie. That's super.